relationships. Come and help me feel.
Come and help me love. Come and help me hope.
Come and help me have patience.
Come and help me have peace.
Come be with us. Come into me.
Emmanuel,
God with us.
Oh come, Emmanuel. Even that word should be exciting. Emmanuel. Now, in Hebrew, there is significance to word order in the way you phrase things and place things, even within the context of a singular word. Emmanuel is not a singular word. We say it as a singular word, but it's a compound word. It's two words. It's Imanu and El. El is God. Imanu means, literally translated, with us. With us. So, Emmanuel means God with us. Or, if you say it the way it's actually written, with us is God. There's a difference in the way you think about this. When you say God with us, you're putting the emphasis on us. God is with us. But the emphasis should never be on us. Ever. The emphasis should always be on God. Because it had nothing to do with us. It was not our choice. It was not our desire. It was not our anything. It was God's choice and God's desire. So when we say Emmanuel, with us is God. That's incredible. With us is God. And it was absolutely, positively revolutionary. And yet, it's the theme that we see running from the very beginning all the way through to the very end. How God desires to be with us. And there are three words we need to take a look at this morning when we think about this concept of God being with us. First one, if you're writing this down or if you're writing it down at home, and I don't know why I pointed to everybody at home, there's no video yet. So for those of you listening at home, three things we need to think about. First word is with. First word is with. Second word is among. Among, A-M-O-N-G, for those of us who have difficulty with that. Among. And the third one is within. Within. Okay? This is the pattern that we see in the Bible in terms of God's dwelling. Before Abraham, okay, let's go back to Genesis, chapters 1 through 11. When we hear about people who are considered righteous or in a relationship with God in some way, we hear that they walked with God. God was with them. Okay? That was what we see in the garden. That was an intimate relationship. It was a togetherness. They walked with one another. Nobody was walking ahead and leading or following. They were walking side by side. I remember going back to my high school days. One of the most impactful things that was ever written in my yearbook had to do with this. And there are plenty of things written in my yearbook, many of which I care not to remember. Okay? But this one stuck with me. It said, do not walk behind me. Oh, no, it says, do not walk in front of me, I may not follow. Do not walk behind me, for I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend. Now that is, from what I understand, a Jewish proverb. I didn't do the research to figure out where it came from or anything like that, but this was a friend of mine from high school. We're still friends, although we're those kind of friends who we see each other, once every 10 or 15 years and just pick up where we left off. He lives in Europe somewhere now as a computer something or other. But I miss him, and it just stuck with me for years and years and years. And that's sort of what I see in the garden. Now, was there clearly a leadership role? Yeah, God, the whole God thing. But he didn't pull the God card until chapter 3. When they did something contrary to that whole, walk beside me, be my friend kind of thing. You went behind my back. That's not cool. And they ended up getting kicked out of the garden. We see Noah walking with God. He walked with God and so he was righteous in his generation. It's not until we start to see God after the flood starting to make some changes. He's like, okay, I can't do this. We have to do something different. He calls Avram Avinu, Abram, our father, out of Ur, the Chaldees. He says, Lech lecha mi beit avicha. Get yourself out from the house of your fathers to a land I will show you. He calls him out. And from that point on, it was designed to create a place for God to dwell. But at that point, we start to see that God will dwell among them. Among them. Sometimes we hear in the Hebrew as betoch, which means amidst, in their midst. But it's no longer with, because that relationship isn't there. It's not a walk beside me. It's okay, hey, look, I am who I am. You follow me. And we see this in the very activities in the land. When the cloud got up and left, the people got up and left. Or if it was by night, it was the pillar of fire. When the pillar of fire got up and left, the children of Israel got up and left. If the pillars didn't move, the children of Israel didn't move. They were followers now, clearly, but God was among them. They weren't with each other. God was among them, leading from within. And that didn't quite work out how he thought it would either. Well, that's not quite an accurate depiction, because he knew what was going to happen. But that's why this whole thing is pointing to the within. See, which is better, with or within? Within. Within is definitely better than the with. Among, not as good as the with. So if we see the development of the relationships, among is the lesser of the relationships. That's the relationship that God had with Israel in the Torah, and or at least from Exodus onwards, through the rest of the Tanakh. He was among them. The next best relationship is the with, which goes back to the garden. which is where God was trying to get to in the among, but never got there. The very best relationship is within. It's even better than the with. It's a better relationship than God had with Adam and Eve in the garden. It's the relationship that God now has and has instituted in each one of us who has come to faith in Messiah Yeshua, because he now has come to dwell within us. But the whole kit and caboodle, the ganze Megillah, was this concept of God dwelling with his people. He wants to be Immanuel, with us, God. There's no better way to explain that than through what he did through Messiah. Messiah is the ultimate, because he sort of exemplified all of those relationships. He came and dwelt among the children of Israel. He led them. He was also with them, in that he was there with them, walking side by side as friends with many of them. I mean, we look at John, the beloved. He called him friend. So he was among, he was with, and now as his